Welcome to the channel. Today, we're breaking down an epic confrontation in the Atlantic Ocean between a Russian submarine and a US destroyer that exposed major weaknesses in the Russian fleet. The incident occurred at 2:14 a.m. 480 kilometers south of Iceland when a Russian Kilo-class submarine surfaced with its torpedo tubes pointed directly at the American destroyer. This confrontation was not just a clash of weapons, but a powerful symbol of Russia's failed strategy to evade Western sanctions. The protected oil tanker, Belawan, was carrying Iranian crude oil worth $52 million. This tanker had already been tracked by the US Navy for 47 days. Russia relies on a shadow fleet to bypass sanctions, an entire network of aging tankers that frequently change identities. The Belawan alone switched its ICE transponder 19 times during the voyage. This is a desperate attempt to keep funding their war machine. As the tanker approached Atlantic waters, Moscow suddenly claimed ownership of the vessel mid-pursuit. It was a bold move to protect their shadow fleet worth $20 billion annually. Instead, it drew even greater attention from NATO. This shadow fleet funds Russia's war, but the cost is enormous. Every voyage requires sky-high insurance and carries the risk of seizure. The incident shows how the US has turned the ocean into a transparent battlefield where Russia can no longer hide. To protect the tanker, Russia deployed Submarine B-524, a Project 636.3 variant of the Kilo class, valued at $1.2 billion. This is an extremely expensive asset with only 6 operational units in the Atlantic. The decision reveals their level of desperation. The escort mission cost for $0.7 million in just 72 hours. Russia risked its limited resources to protect a single tanker. This was a billion-dollar gamble that could end in total failure. US intelligence revealed that Russia's underwater capabilities have been greatly exaggerated. Only a small number of submarines are truly combat-ready. This deployment actually weakened their position in other regions. At 3:45, the radar on USS Oscar Austin locked onto the Russian submarine at just 460 yards. The sub had already been tracked for 6 hours using passive sonar. This was the moment American technology began to dominate. US passive sonar processed 847 acoustic signals to positively identify the submarine. Overhead, a P-8A Poseidon aircraft deployed a sonobuoy pattern worth $340,000. Even the crew's heartbeat could be detected. The arrival of USS Donald Cook strengthened the US position, forcing the Russian captain to dive. This exposed the flaw in Russian doctrine that relies on intimidation. Those 90 seconds shattered Russia's bluff. The US Arleigh Burke-class destroyer carries 96 full cells with a range exceeding 1,000 to 100 nautical miles. Compare that to Russian torpedoes with only 9.8 nautical miles. This is a 40-year technological gap. The US Aegis system can track 156 targets and engage 18 simultaneously. The P-8 aircraft covers an area of 34,000 square miles. The Russian cruise mistake became a training case study for NATO. Russia's shadow fleet is under increasing pressure, with NATO intercepting 23 tankers worth $1.4 billion in just 8 months. Fleet capacity has dropped 34%. This is a strategic collapse. Insurance costs per voyage have skyrocketed from $80,000 to $890,000, using military assets to protect commercial shipping amidst the loss of civilian control. US financial mechanisms are strangling Russian banking. After the confrontation, the submarine remained submerged under surveillance by 3 US destroyers, 2 frigates, and 4 aircraft for 96 hours. Photos circulated within NATO in just 40 minutes. This destroyed Russia's deterrence claims. 340 vessels were reclassified as high risk, adding to $0.3 billion in extra costs. The tanker Marinera continues to be tracked by satellite. This incident has fundamentally changed modern naval warfare. It's no longer about who takes the biggest risk, but about technology that makes the ocean transparent. Russia lost because of its reliance on outdated assets. Russia's shadow fleet is becoming economically unsustainable. Western sanctions force them to rely on vulnerable old ships. This marks a turning point in US maritime dominance. NATO's coordination in this response was flawless. integrating real-time intelligence. Russia lost credibility even in the eyes of its own allies. This incident has become a global lesson. Let's dive deeper into the technological gap. U.S. destroyers possess far superior destructive range. Russian torpedoes are limited, while American missiles can reach thousands of miles. U.S. sonar uses AI to filter noise and detect subtle signals. This turns Russian submarines into floating targets. This technology has been developed over 75 years. The P-8A Poseidon is not just a scout, it's a combat platform capable of dropping torpedoes. Its coverage is vast, making escape impossible. This is America's air-sea superiority. Human error on the Russian side, such as the failed intimidation attempt, was fully exploited. It has become a case study in NATO military academies. Technology defeats blind courage. Overall, this gap explains why the U.S. controls every inch of the Atlantic. Russia must revise its doctrine, but sanctions make it extremely difficult. This is a new era of dominance. Strategic impact. NATO is becoming more aggressive in intercepting the Shadow Fleet. In just 8 months, interceptions reached $1.4 billion in value. This severely weakens Russia's war economy. Russian operational costs have skyrocketed, with insurance rising tenfold. This makes the Shadow Fleet financially unviable. Moscow has been forced to quietly admit defeat. Using military assets to protect commercial tankers reveals the complete loss of civilian control. This is a clear sign of desperation. The U.S. uses financial mechanisms to squeeze Russia even harder. After the incident, photos of the submarine spread rapidly, destroying the reputation of the Russian Navy. 340 vessels reclassified as high-risk add to $0.3 billion in extra burden. This is a massive loss. Tankers like Marinera continue to be tracked, proving Russia can no longer hide. This incident strengthens the NATO alliance and weakens Russia's global position. Naval warfare has changed forever. This incident not only affected Russia, but also triggered reactions from Western allies. The United Kingdom and France increased patrols in the Atlantic, adding to frigates to NATO operations. This strengthened the surveillance network, cornering Russia's Shadow Fleet even further. The impact on the global economy was felt, with oil prices rising 3% due to disruptions in Russian supply. Buyers like China began to hesitate, seeking alternatives from the Middle East. This was a major blow to Russia's reliance on illegal exports. The Kilo-class submarine, though advanced in the Soviet era, is now outdated compared to the U.S. Virginia class, which costs $3.5 billion per unit. Russia has only 12 active units globally, while the U.S. has 19. This gap continues to widen. Intelligence analysis revealed that the Russian crew experienced high stress during the confrontation, with U.S. sonar detecting their conversations. This has become a lesson in the psychology of modern underwater warfare. After the incident, Russia attempted to deny the event through state media, but NATO's photographic evidence exposed their lies. This led to a 15% drop in domestic public trust, according to independent surveys. Comparison with the 2018 Kerch Strait incident shows a recurring pattern of Russian failure in maritime confrontations. There, they lost diplomatically. Here, technologically, repeated lessons ignored. The future of the Russian fleet looks grim, with defense budget down 18% due to sanctions. They may shift to nuclear submarines, but that risks global escalation. The U.S. continues developing technologies like autonomous underwater drones, capable of tracking submarines. This project is worth $2 billion and will be ready in 3 years. China's response is noteworthy. They quietly reduced oil purchases from Russia by 12%. This shows the incident affected their unofficial alliance. As the conclusion to this series, we see how one small confrontation can change global dynamics, strengthening sanctions and promoting peace through strength. Stay tuned for more in-depth analysis.